Hi everyone, my name is Pariti,
I'm Dillon.
and this podcast is what keeps us up.
Yes.
So I think we came up with this because of the literal and figurative meaning almost.
Yes.
Like what keeps us up at night, because both of us are usually always up at night.
Yes,
But
literally.
then also what keeps us up, like going and happy and just moving on in life.
Yes, exactly. And today, first topic we're kind of going to talk about a little bit is...
Friendships.
Friendships.
And this comes from our relationship as friends. And so
Yes.
that would be like a great first episode to start off with. So how did we meet? I think it was like a class in undergrad.
Yeah, okay, so this is how we met. At least from my perspective. So we were in an undergrad class, because we went to college together, and I saw you across the room, because you were in we had to get into a group project. Everyone had to get in a group project, and basically you were with a bunch of people that looked really smart, and you looked smart, and I was like, everyone else in this class looks like an idiot.
Oh my god!
So I was like, the only way I'm gonna get through this class, if this is the final project, is to pair with you. And you guys were full, and I literally just like, can I join your group? And you just let us be together.
Yeah.
And then we went through the class or whatever, and then I don't know, I feel like you just decided that you were just gonna not let me leave. You were just we're going to be friends. Because then by that point, after that, we just kind of started hanging out after class, and it started from there.
Yeah.
And you helped me get my life together, kind of. 'Cause I was a hot mess. We were okay. Seriously, we were both really rough when we met each other.
Yeah, that was a tough time.
It was really,
oh my god.
really rough. I look back and I'm like, why did she even talk to me? But we made it through.
Yeah.
We made it through.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a good place to start, though. Because we were very different. We're very different as people, but I think even more so now when we met.
I think when we met, we were more similar than we are now.
I didn't think at the time. I thought we were total opposites.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because, and here's the thing too, and then this is interesting too, because I think sometimes how friendships go is how you also see yourself. I saw myself as a hot mess, which I was a hot mess, but I was a mess that could be recovered. But I saw you as so put together, which is why when you first said, I feel like we were really similar during that time. I was like, how? Literally.
I think as in I felt that our, who we were as people was very similar. But what's gonna make this podcast very interesting is that our characteristics are very different. The way we see life, the way we go about it is very different.
So then, what I want to know is, and I don't know if I ever got this. I don't think I ever asked you this question, because I've told the story, and I just told the story of my first impression of you. You were very vocal in the class. You were just very out there. And what was your first impression of me?
Oh my god.
Yes, be honest.
Stop.
No, be honest.
No, I'm
I
just
want to know.
thinking because so this is what I was planning on saying this later on in the episode, but I view friendships, I guess, very differently than other people. So I didn't realize that until I was vocally saying the things I'm about to say, and people were like, I don't think of it the same way. And I was like, what? Really? But because
I have the same thing, yeah.
The way I am as a person and the way I interact, I interact like that with people. But they think I'm doing that because I want to be friends with them. No. So I'm always hi. I'm always how are you? How was your day?
And they're like, oh my gosh, she's my bestie.
Yeah.
I don't know your name.
Yeah, I just treat people if I if we're sitting next to each other in class, if I'm gonna see you for the next 6 months or 4 months, I'm gonna see you twice a week. People around, I'm gonna be like, oh, hey, what's your name? How's life going? What are you up to? I feel I do the same with my coworkers at work. Anywhere I go, I'm always I wanna know more about you as a person, and that's without a motive of being okay, we're going to be friends. It just is as a classmate, I want to get to know you more. And so I did that with everyone around us at that time, not just you. If you remember, I was always okay, if we're in a group, I want to know more. Talk to me. So I think that was how I interacted with you very initially. Where I was hey, how are you in this class? Why did you choose this? What's your major?
So, you have no initial thoughts about anyone when
ever.
Your first impression is, pretty bland.
I'm just my first, because I also don't, believe in first impressions
as
past
a
like
concept.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like it's one, it's always developing, but two, like I just know that it's never gonna be like you're never gonna get someone's real personality in the first interaction.
See, okay. See, this is because like I'm the total opposite.
Really?
Yeah. No, I haven't said this to you.
What? No.
No, because like the way that it works for me is, and this is how I've created pretty much almost all of my friendships, and I use the word create because it was intentional, at least on my end. Within the first 5 to 10 minutes of talking to someone,
what?
I know exactly what they're like. And
no,
like seriously, no. So that's why, and I still feel like even if you might have felt like you were a hot mess at the time, like from my perspective, I mean, well, that's like literally, I was like, this person, it has a lot going for them, and in this class, I need to be around this person because we're gonna do well. And so I knew immediately what type of, just on a general scale, what kind of person you were from like the first few minutes of talking to you. And that's how I am with like all of my friends. Like one of my other friends, one of my best friends, hi Emily. I'm sure she'll be on this podcast at some point, and she helps me with my music, and we've just been friends for a while. Funny. Literally, because we were originally coworkers, and for months I knew we were going to be best friends. But we had been working remote, and there was no real, like, the circumstances, we never really got in a room for a while. I was like, the second we get in a room, we're gonna be really good friends. And I had only actually physically talked to her before that point, maybe like 2 or 3 times.
Wait, yeah, no, I'm you're right, we are complete opposites, because for me it takes really long time to call someone a close friend or a best friend. Like, it will take me months.
It'll take me months too, but I'll know if it's coming.
Oh, okay.
Like, I'll be like, we're not best friends yet, but we will be. I won't say that because I don't want to make them uncomfortable, but like, I just know.
Okay.
Like, I even had...
I haven't really thought of that.
And so, but the thing is, I feel like... The thing, though, is I feel like in some ways there's pros and cons, because sometimes I feel like your approach in some ways is healthier in the sense that for me, if I, for whatever reason in my own judgment, feel like I'm not going to be close to someone, I won't even, like, won't engage with them at all. So I kind of, like, hedge my bets on the people I do talk to, and then I just kind of, like, plant my flag with those people, but I could be missing out on, like, other opportunities, and also, like, in my own bias, I might always gravitate towards a specific type of person, whereas you're just, like, everyone, like, it doesn't really matter if you're interesting in general.
Yeah, I mean, people are generally interesting.
But the thing is, though, I feel like while your approach is healthier, I think most people don't, like, go about things that way.
Yeah, I didn't think that at first, because I thought, like, everyone, is just in general, like, will have a conversation with someone regardless of whether they want to be friends with them or not. Like, that's just how I think. So then for me, like, I'll be friendly with people even if I don't plan on being friends with them, because for me a concept of friend is so much deeper than I think what I've noticed other people view it as.
What do you think, like, the common view is, or at least from other people, like, from your interactions, what do you think is, like, different?
The reason I'm saying that is because people have considered me a really close friend, and I'm like, oh, like,
name names, right? No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm like, I didn't know, like, I didn't know I was a really close friend to them, because for me it's so much deeper than that. Like, I need to get to know you, and, like, your depth, like, so much past surface level. Like, I need to know your traumas. Like, I need to know everything about you.
Yeah.
And, like, we spend so much time with you and just feel so connected to you to be like, this is the bestie. Like, you know what I mean? But with other people, like, me saying hi, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're good friends, because, like, we, I see her a lot in class, and we talk a lot. So then I'm saying, like, I didn't, because I wouldn't call, like, the people that are friendly back to me in class, I don't call them my friend. But I guess I've noticed, or, like, I've, experienced that they do expect, me to say that, or, like, because they're like, oh, like, we're good friends. And when I hear that in conversation, obviously, like, I'm like, yeah, no, of course. But, like, in my brain, I'm like, oh my god, I didn't realize we were good friends.
And so my question, because we talked about this a little bit off air, but when it comes to actually knowing someone, do you think that can only be cultivated through experience, or do you think that by just, because, like, for example, if someone is just, like, because I've had this too, where I have, like, gotten what I thought was close to someone, but I realized we are just telling each other a bunch of things, but we haven't actually lived life together.
Yeah.
And so I've had times where I've like, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have the same trauma as me. Let's have a 6-hour conversation about it. And then I'm like, were we just talking about the things? And was that actually like what I thought was closeness, but that was just us kind of like wanting to share? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I still think that's okay. Like, I'm including that. Because, I know we're gonna get to this, but like updating versus experiencing friendships.
Yeah.
And this idea of, growing up, generally majority of your friendships are experiential friendships because you're experiencing life together, school together, whatever, you're experiencing it together. And so then proximity makes you friends. And then, like, as you get a little bit older, it becomes an updating friendship. And it's always like, let's meet for dinner when you have time, and then updating each other about our lives.
Yeah.
And so, I think before I would have probably said no, like, experiential friendships are, like, better, or, like, let's say it, like, you have to experience, whatever, have a similar experience together in order to, be really good friends. But I think now, at, like, the stage I am in life, I feel like a lot of my friendships are generally now just updating. Like, we meet whenever we can and just update each other about our lives. And I would say, like, it's almost just as meaningful sometimes, like, calling someone up and being like, I experienced this today. Updating them about your experience, I think has, it's not as bad as I envisioned it, where I was like, oh my god, after college I'm just never gonna make any good friends because it's just gonna be work forever.
Yeah.
But
I feel like how most people tend to feel coming out of college.
Yeah. I mean, that was, me for a really long time, but I still have such amazing friendships, and we do cool projects together. We, talk. We are there for each other. We, and then still do different experiences together, like watch a movie, or, I feel like going out to eat is still an experience in my brain because I love food so much.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so this is actually a thought that I have too in relation to that. I think too, see what's like the thing that I don't know, maybe we experience this differently. The thing that I rub up against with like updating versus experiencing from my end is I at least feel like for me, so many of my friendships are built off of memory. And so I've experienced this especially with friends that are either like long distance or like I met them online like during COVID or whatever, where I'm like, what does it mean if the entirety of our friendship or a long portion of it is now just conversation? Because you don't really, most times you don't remember conversation, you just remember how you felt. Or you remember like the summary part of it. And so it's like, I've thought about that with a couple of friends that I've just had in the past, some of them like long distance or whatever. I'm like, if I really look back on our friendship, I don't remember anything about it. You know what I mean? Whereas like I can think of 10 things that we've done together.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I do remember when those people were there for me, even if it was just in words and, in action by physically being on the phone or whatever.
Yeah, like emotionally.
Yeah, like I even had to get to a point, especially during COVID, which like for me at least, because you were running around crazy. At this time, I was not as busy. And I made a lot of friends. I made a lot of friends online or all these different things like that. Or it's just people who are long distance. And I literally had to tell myself, even people I really cared about, I was like, they are not real unless they're directly in front of me. Which might sound like a really cruel thing, but I would get to the point where I was like, if I'm not experiencing things with them in real time, it would like take a real effect on me.
Oh.
Which is interesting because from your perspective, I wonder, like, would that not bother you as much? Because if it's just updating or you're just talking on the phone and that's it, like, would you still feel like you're close with that person?
I would say, like, love languages matter just as much in friendships. And so I'm very big on, like, deep conversations and quality time. Yeah. So if I get that, even if it's on the phone, then I'm okay. But if I don't get that, then I'm not. So for me, it is very much like either experiencing or updating, whatever it is, like whether we're talking or not, but like being in each other's presence, whether on the phone or in person.
So text isn't involved in that.
Oh no, sorry, I'm not a texter.
Yeah,
this
no,
is so
I know,
bad.
like neither am I, but I know like for some people,
for some people it's okay, but like me getting a hi, how are you text, I'm like, good, question mark. Like, I'm never gonna be typing, like, we can call, but, like, I don't know. But I'm saying, like, I need that to call someone a close friend or a good friend or whatever. If I don't know what's happening in your life, then I don't really consider us really good friends.
And that is, I think, a really difficult thing to kind of like come to grips with when you knew someone for a really long time, and then you realize you're like, years have gone by, and I actually like, I have this version of you in my head that I think I know, but like when we talk, I'm like, I feel like we're on two totally different planets, and like I actually don't know that much about you.
I think there's this like thinking something's forever versus like having seasons to it. And I think it's really hard to come to terms with the fact, like, you know, friendships can have seasons, and it doesn't have to end ugly. It doesn't have to be like a friendship breakup. You don't even have to say that you fell apart. None of those things, but you can still have a season. Like, you know, I use this example all the time of like being in proximity with one of my friends for like a whole year because we like lived right next to each other and did everything together in school, whatever, like just, you know, the exact same path, going to school every day, coming home, talking, doing everything together, like just felt so like bestie, like best friend. Then it became, you know, it becomes long distance because we're like living in two separate countries or two separate states.
Oh my gosh, countries, that that freaks me.
And you know, it's very different paths in life. Like, I'm working, or maybe they're doing something else, and so it becomes like the updating thing I was telling you, where we update each other once a month. But then we put in things like, okay, every Friday we're gonna do a movie night, like on Zoom. And so if I can get that consistency, then it's okay. But if it literally only is like, okay, once a month we're gonna update each other, we're gonna call it, we're gonna be, you know, whatever it is, then I don't see them as just as close anymore. Like, I see them as a really good friend. I see them as a close friend. But it's definitely not the same as like my best friend that I'm experiencing every second of my life together with. Like, I'm not calling them every single time something happens. Like, at that time it might be, you know, whoever is in that stage of their life with me then. So now it might be my work friend, where I'm like, something happens and I'm like, oh my god, you won't believe what happened, because, you know, we're experiencing life together those 8 hours a day. And so I personally am okay with that, like having seasons of like really, really strong like proximity, like just a lot of time together. And then, you know, being in different stages of our lives, and so, you know, we didn't fall apart. There was no break. There's nothing. We're in different stages, and so like the conversation isn't at the same level, or we're not, you know, spending just as much time together. So for someone else it might be okay, but for me, like, conversation matters and time matters. Like, time matters the most. So if I'm only getting like 5 or 10 minutes of a month with you, it doesn't feel the same of me spending 8 hours a day with you.
Yeah, especially too, because one thing that I've realized recently in that is, like, if I hang out with someone and because we have good personality chemistry, I'm like, oh my gosh, we were hanging out, we were laughing, blah, blah, blah. Like, we had a good time, but that good time was like an hour over the course of like 3 months, 6 months. And I'm like, and you don't like text or call me or anything, but it's like, we hung out for a little bit and it was cool, but I'm like, but I could probably have done that with 3 other people that were similar personality to me.
That was the start of this conversation. I'm saying, like, when I do that, like, someone else might think because of the hour you guys are really close friends, but in my brain it's like, no, that was an hour over the course of like 3 months, like 1 hour, and then we haven't talked in 3 months. Like, we're not actually really good friends. Like, we have, you know, we talked on this blank topic that we both connected on and had a really good conversation about, or like we connected over blank TV show and watched it together, the first episode, and had a really, you know, good time watching it together. Whatever the experience or the conversation is, but that doesn't doesn't turn into, quote, friends. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it has to be like, one, built up, but like requires so much more time commitment in my brain. Like, you have to be committed to a friendship, and that will entail like updating each other a lot, calling, you know, meeting if we can. Like, I won't put as much emphasis on in person, because I feel like a lot of my friendships have been over the phone recently, where I, you know, get like I'm on my commute home, like that's an hour for me, and it's just an hour with that friend every single day, and we like update each other on like what happened that day, and then small things like, oh, my brother did this, or you know, she's telling me, or I'm like, oh yeah, like my coworker said this today, or like just the small things that you don't get in the other updating friendships if it's over the course of 3 months. Like if I'm seeing you after 3 months, it's only gonna be like high level, like here's what I've been up to. I'm not gonna tell you, like we're not gonna be talking about like the smaller details of our days, which is what me consists of really good close friends, where I can tell you like why I chose like this color hair tie to wear today. Like I'm not having that conversation if I see you once every 3 months. I'm just like, oh yeah, like I'm doing this, I'm doing my MBA, I'm doing TEDx, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. What are you up to? Have a good like lunch and leave. For me, that's a friend. That's a good friend, and that's it. For me, that's not a close friend. That's not a best friend. I'm just like I know them. Like if someone asks me, I'm like, oh yeah, like I know them. We're friends. Like I see them every once in a while. But to someone else, it might be like, oh yeah, we're really good friends. But for me, it's not that.
Yeah, and then like in terms of being committed to friends, because it's something I've been thinking about a lot, like commitment to friendships. How for you? I'll let you go, and then I'm curious. You hear what you think. I'll tell you like how I kind of relate to this. How would you say? How do you like measure who is worth your time? Because like I think people, and I know I've run into this too. Like sometimes I feel like like wrong or like apologetic for being that like just black and white about it, but like literally like who is worth your time? Like, how do you determine that? Because I feel like that is a big part of like what commitment actually looks like.
Yeah.
Like, because for example, like we want to do this podcast. We want to do. We both literally before we recorded this, we were both talking about how exhausted we were, and I guarantee you, if one of us said, "Do you want to just turn around?" We probably would have, but we are committed to like spending time together and doing this thing. Like, so how do you like for you? How do you determine that? Like, what does commitment mean to you?
So I take projects, like passion projects like this, very differently than commitment to a friendship. Because you know how I am with like if I set my mind to like a project, something I want to do, like I want to do it, I'm gonna get it done. And I feel like I'm very ambitious about those projects. So because we decided we wanted to record this or whatever, like I wanna I view that very differently, and versus like my commitment to friendships, or as you mentioned previously, like choosing who I want to give my time to, people wise is different than like interest wise, right? So like I know I've shown you my Google Calendar of like everything color coded of like, okay, this is the time.
She has a Google Calendar. Every single hour is planned out like over the course of a month, and I can't even imagine doing that.
Anyways, so it's like, okay, like I have class stuff, okay, I'm gonna do TED stuff, okay, I have this podcast, okay, I'm gonna like the stuff that I'm doing, I treat very differently, like work and like all, like I almost treat this like work, but in a good way, because I only do work I like doing. So when I say work, I don't mean like I'm dreading it. I see it like work, like purpose work.
Yeah.
But with friendships, it's different because I never make like an active decision of like if this person is worth my time or not. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I've never decided.
That is all I think about.
That's insane because for me, it's like if it happens, like I literally see it as seasons. Like if it happens, it happens. Like if we end up being good friends, great. If not, because I feel like as humans, like I always feel connected to people even if we're not friends in some way. Like me and my coworker at work are having the exact same experience, and so I feel connected to her. Like both of us are working on this team. We're working on similar projects. We have the same boss.
Yeah.
We work like a typical 8-hour day. And I feel connected just in that. And so if I wouldn't see as friends until, we had this conversation. But I still feel connected to that person. Because I'm like, we're, having like, we're doing the same, like we're living very similar paths right now. And so when the conversation gets going and then we start meeting outside of work, that's when I'm like, okay, like we are friends now.
Yeah.
Let's say like one of us moves on and quits the job. I would still consider us friends if we stayed friends even though they moved jobs or whatever. But if not, then I would see it as a season. Like, oh, this coworker that became a really good friend of mine when we worked together, but then like life happened, so like we're still in touch, but like we're not best friends anymore.
And see that I'm the total opposite in the sense that I genuinely almost like I'm not gonna admit fully how much I go into this in my brain because I would sound like an insane person. But
no, I wouldn't know.
I will literally be like, is this like in this week? Is this person worth my time? Yes or no? Because I for me, and this is kind of why I was relating it back to, for example, this podcast. Because for me, I always just think about like my energy level and how many people are like. How many people want a piece of that energy for whatever reason? And so, for example, like when you brought this podcast to me, if most people had asked me to do a podcast and give me the same pitch, I would have said no. But because you asked me to do it, and I knew we would do a good job, but like you're my friend, like a good friend of mine, for me I was like, okay, even though I'm like literally stretching myself, to me that's worth my time. There have been times where I will literally be like, I genuinely, like, logically, I don't have time for this person, but I'm going to go even if I don't feel like it, because I think that that time investment is important to build consistency, like, over a period of time. But I also only ever view my friendships as investments, like personal investments, emotional investments. So I will only ever surround myself around people that I feel will fill me up in a way that I'm not already being filled up or that I enjoy more.
I agree to the friendships I'm putting effort into. So I'm never going to, go out to dinner or like, go out to a movie with a friend who I just cause. Like, it's actually because I'm choosing a friendship with that person. So me feeling connected to people in my life is very different than me choosing to be friends with you, and which is choosing to constantly be in proximity to you, keeping in touch with you, being committed to making sure this friendship stays intact. Like you know what I mean? But I would say like I also do this thing of like where I have different tiers in my brain.
Yeah, mine are very defined too.
Yeah, where like acquaintance is different than like friend, which is they're different than like good friend, close friend, best friend.
And the thing is, for me, even though I have tiers, because I'm very like, I think it's important to know where you stand with people and be real about that. I want everyone to be in the closest tier, and then that's where I've gotten better at this. You've gotten on me about this too. But like, sometimes I will put people in, try to pull people into that closest tier that they don't belong there, and they may not even want to be there. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like I want to be close to you, blah, blah, blah. And I think too, like at least for me, it's like I try, like it's not very hard for me, to kind of like bring people into that tier, as long as I'm just like, if you like are interested in understanding me and you are interested in opening up, that I can understand you like on a deep level, then we're good. Like literally, like I mentioned my friend Emily, like on the second time we were talking, it was just like instant trauma dump. That's not healthy all the time as a chronic oversharer, but I still generally, like for me, I think if you are open to people, they'll be open to you, and I feel like that cuts through a lot of like the BS. Because for me, I hate small talk.
Yeah, same.
I hate.
That's why I can't text.
But the thing is, I feel like a lot of people say they hate small talk, but I even mean like, and this is just me, and honestly, like I don't even know how healthy this is, but for me, if we're just talking about like a thing, like I remember like I was having a conversation with someone, and they were just like, oh my gosh, did you hear what Will Smith said about Beyonce? I was like, what? I don't care about that. It means absolutely nothing to me. Why are we talking about this?
That's funny.
But some people, they just like, oh, like I want to talk about entertainment, blah blah blah, and that's what makes them happy. But for me, I'm like, if that's all we talk about, or even if that's like a majority, and sometimes we talk about like more personal things, but like if it's not at least 50-50, we can talk about dumb stuff. If we're not talking about personal stuff at all, if you're not interested in that whatsoever.
No, of course.
And like, but the thing is, for me, that's not even just like sharing like what's going on in my day, but just like how I see the world.
Yeah, it's like more like existential, philosophical conversations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if I don't have that, then it's like we're not even getting past the first 2 tiers. Like, we're definitely not good, like, really good friends, close friends, or even, but, like, we're not even touching that if I don't know you at a personal level.
How do you feel that, like, I don't know, I guess, how do you process dealing with, like, conflict in your friendships?
I feel like,
is that hard for you?
I'm a pretty confrontational person.
No, you.
Is that funny? Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm total opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
why is it easy for you? Let me ask you that. Why do you think it's
not
easy, but why is it?
Things. Generally, people that end up being friends with me are okay with that part of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really have crazy conflicts in my friendships because they know what they signed up for, because I am very direct from the start. And I'm very confident. Like, the second you meet me, as you mentioned, like, you know how I am.
Yeah.
Like, you will know that if I don't like something, you'll know if I like it. Like, I would say I'm pretty direct.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, people can assume I'm also confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're gonna be okay with that, like, if you're not, then those people don't even end up being good friends with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So for me, like, I'm generally only good friends, above good friends, close friends, best friends, everything above good friends with anyone that already accepts that part of me.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that, generally conflict doesn't arise at the same level. So I've never really had ever a big friendship breakup or like crazy conflict that ended in us not being friends anymore.
And I think maybe part of that is because of your perspective too. Because I think like when I hear of people, they're like, oh my gosh, this is always happening, like, in this. Well, one thing too is I think friend groups sometimes, like, they can be great, but sometimes they're just like a breeding ground for drama.
Yeah.
But like, I think when I hear people, they're like, oh my gosh, like, I have all these issues with my friends, blah 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 blah. Sometimes I wonder, I'm like, is that also kind of like contingent on what you consider as an issue, and also like how you choose your friends? Because I think one thing that I have found, at least in other people that I've talked to, is I think some people are not as picky with their friends.
Yeah.
And then they don't realize until it's too late, we should have never been friends.
Yeah.
But we've been talking for like 2 years and we send memes to each other. So now that makes us friends. I'm like, but we fundamentally are not compatible as people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something both of us are really good at doing, which is like not being friends with people who, like, just cause. Like, we actively choose who you want to spend time with. For me, conflict has happened in friendships. It happens all the time. It's never huge because I don't think I ever let it get to a point where it's like, one, I can't let anything build up inside of me. Like, the second I feel anything where I'm like, I didn't like this or whatever, I just say it. Like, I communicate it. And I expect that back from my friends. So if I don't get that, then I don't even take the next step with them of being really good friends, because I'm like, if you're not gonna communicate how you feel to me, or if like I'm the only one sharing, or I'm the only one communicating, and I don't see that reciprocated, then I just instantly know, like, okay, we're never gonna be really good friends. We'll just be friends, and that's okay. Like, I'm okay with just being friends. I'm okay if we're not really good friends.
Yeah.
So if I don't get that, then I'm like, okay, then it's not happening. So I think for me, like, conflict has never been at that level because I don't even, see it. Like, it doesn't end up even being there because I'm generally only friends with people that are also good communicators.
That's a really important part of it too.
Yeah.
Like the communication piece, because I think for me at least, that's another thing too. Like, cause like I generally connect. It doesn't really matter who, like, how much, like, I talk a lot, so like I don't mind dominating the conversation if like the other person's like, if they're a good listener too, which is like something that I struggle with as someone who talks a lot, and I feel like in the friendships that have been cultivated really well, I put a lot of time into actually listening to what they have to say, because that's like, I think, a really big part of it too. Yeah.
This is like so off topic,
What?
but there's this idea of givers versus takers in conversations. And generally people are always like, oh, takers, as in like you talk a lot, blah blah blah, like you're always, and then this concept I saw, I think it was a TikTok video where this girl talks about, actually it's more burdening to the taker when the giver is like too giving in the conversation.
Yes.
Because I feel so burdened. Because both of us, like, would be considered takers in a conversation because we both talk, like, you know, a lot. But then, you know, with the givers, it's, like, burdening us because I'm like, do you want to say something?
Yeah. No, because I think, too, this is another, like, I hate silence. I will always fill it.
Wait, no, I don't agree with that.
I like, for me, and, like, this is something I have to work on, but, like, if there's, like, not, I get antsy immediately because I'm just like, okay, well, then what now? Like, what now? And so, like, if I feel like I'm just constantly filling the void, and nothing's being put back in, I feel like I'm talking to myself. I talk to myself enough. I get tired of hearing myself talk. People don't believe me. Because I have a freaking YouTube channel, and I do music, and I get tired of myself. I'm like, I'm literally talking to you so that I can hear your point of view. So it drives me crazy when that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But then, like, I feel like that person would be like, oh, I was just listening. I'm like, well, don't listen to me. Just talk.
Yeah, I think that's why, and the video explained that, like, two takers is fine because the conversation is flowing. So, like, but takers, we just expect the other person to say what they want to say so we don't have to ask. With givers, it's always, like, they're doing the asking, but they're not necessarily doing the saying.
But see, what's interesting, though, is that even though I guess it depends on the person, because if I don't feel safe or, like, understood in a social space, I will instantly shut down, and I will give, like, people would probably perceive me as, like, really active in the conversation, but I'm just giving you, like, a nothing answer. Like, I'm giving you exactly what you want to hear because I don't feel safe or understood.
Yeah.
Like, even like, honestly, in, like, larger group settings, I, like, for whatever reason, like, for me, I'm like, I don't feel as comfortable in those settings. So even though, like, I can be really active in a one-on-one conversation, even, like, two-on-one, whatever, and I'm definitely an extroverted personality, if it's larger than, like, 3 or 4 people, even in a friend group, like, I totally shut down. And, like, I will talk and, like, I will do all the things that you do in a conversation, but I will be totally somewhere else and mostly uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's definitely hard for me to be as open in space, like, in a space is full of a lot of people, because I feel like I'm putting on a performance almost.
Yeah.
Because, like, we're extroverted, so it's, like, you know, larger than life vision of, like, you know, I'm talking, I'm laughing, but I don't feel truly safe and open, like, emotionally open, until it's just, like, the close friends or, like, the smaller group of people I trust.
And I think, too, it takes a while, and this is something I'm still working on, like, knowing when you are actually safe. Like, that is a skill that has to be developed, because, like, sometimes you think you're in situations where it's like, oh, this person likes me and accepts me for who I am, and that's couldn't be farther in the truth. To, like, just because they laughed at one of your jokes does not mean that they accept you. That was really big for me, especially growing up, because, like, I was always the person who I would, like, especially when I was younger, like when I was, like, 16, 17, this started to kind of fade, and now I don't do it at all, honestly. But I would place myself in that position of, like, self-deprecator just to lighten the mood for everyone else. And I would be like, I want to provide everyone with laughter. I want to do this thing. So the quickest way to do that is to, like, fall on the sword and just, like, make fun of myself. You know what I mean? And I would, like, and then what would happen is that, because I don't want to say I set the tone, because that's not true. The other people would set the tone, but I would allow that tone to be set. And so, and I thought, oh, well, because everyone, like, oh, I can take it. I can like, I'm
how you treat yourself.
Exactly. Because I'm like, oh, well, I'm self-aware, so I can take it because I'm the one that said it, or I let them say it. And then, like, it created a culture where, like, everyone, we're having a good time and we're laughing. But like, that internal part of me that I'm not paying attention to is, like, constantly getting beat up on. But I thought I was safe.
But it's knowing that, you know, you can be laughing with instead of being laughed at. And, like, how you know, treat yourself is how others will probably, you know, like, how much you respect yourself can be seen. And so, I feel like I you know, it's one thing to laugh at yourself when, you know, things happen. I feel like I can do that, but I've been, maybe this is, like, the South Asian part of me, but, like, I, you know, cannot allow, like, I will not allow people to laugh at me and create space for that in, like, anything less than, like, friendly. Like, it's like, oh my god, I can't believe you did that, haha, like, that's fine. But it's like anything insane, of, like, anything derogatory even, like, I'm never gonna You know how some people are like, I'm so stupid, haha.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I used to
what?
let people say some wild things to my face, and I'd be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no.
Good one.
Like, could not be me.
No.
Could not be me. Could not be me.
I don't want to. I kind of want to tell you some of the things that I've heard, but like I'm trying to remember like who said what and who will likely watch.
Oh God, no wait, actually please say it. Cause one thing about this, I'm gonna make you confrontational by the end of this episode if I can.
I had like one person say to me one time, they were like, "You are such a classy black person."
What the?
And I was like, and we were friends.
What?
And I was just like, what do you mean?
What?
And they were like, well, you know black people. And I'm like,
what?
Yes, I know black people. I'm like,
okay.
But no, and I was just like, oh, haha, you're so funny. Even though I was like, that really bothered me. But I was just like,
couldn't pay me to laugh at that.
That's where I was at that time. That's where I was. Like, it's, yeah. Yeah. And then I would get the other one all the time. All the time. Even from, like, people, not people close to me, but, like, back in the day, like, I would have people be like, oh my gosh, like, you act so white. And I'm like, explain. What does that mean? Please tell me.
Oh my God, you have so many racist people around you. Like, this is crazy.
Like, no, and the thing, though, is I feel like, honestly, and this is not even me, like, defending their action or anything like that. Compared to other areas and others, I'm like, I had it okay. But there were still those, like, the fact that I let that stuff. Yeah.
I mean.
Like, I used to live.
Yeah, like, wow, you're so thankful you didn't get hate crime. They were just minor microaggressions. No big deal. No, you know.
That's how it was, though.
Oh
That's
my God.
still something I'm working on. I still let people get away with too much.
Yeah,
sometimes.
no. Yeah, let's change that.
Yeah, no, but see, that's the thing. That's why I asked you the question about, like, conflict, because I still am fundamentally uncomfortable with that. Even, like, I will, like, if I'm really close to someone, I'll say some, like, honestly, too honest things to the point where I'm like, I really should have kept that to myself. But, yeah, generally, I will let too much slide.
Yeah. I think with conflict, I like to see it as, like, us against problem, which is, like, so basic. But, like, I always try to highlight that where I'm like, okay, it's, like me and you versus problem, like, and not me against you, whatever. But generally, like, most of my conflicts are, like, they're conflicts, but it's never anything hostile. It's just, like, normal, everyday discussions of, like, where to go or what to do. Like, why did you say this? Why did you do this? I just feel like those things, it's never anything insane.
But you have no issue coming at people that aren't your friends.
Wait, I have no issue coming at people that what?
That aren't your friends.
Oh, yeah.
See, I would never, I like...
No, because we're not even friends, so why do you feel comfortable speaking to me like this? Why do you feel comfortable, like, being, like, you know what I mean? Like, why do you feel so comfortable, like, acting like a friend when we're not even friends? I don't even know you. I never gave you that in my life. I never gave you that space. I never gave you that designation.
Yeah.
And I didn't even expect it from you. Like, I don't have that space in their life either. So I don't know why they feel so okay acting the way they act near me.
I used to get this all the time. Even if it's subconsciously, when you start calling someone your best friend or you set that expectation, that has a lot, like, that does a lot to you.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like people throw that around so frequently. It's like, that's not, like, yeah, I know we're not, like, 12 anymore, but that's still really important.
Yeah.
You say, like, you were one of the closest people in my life.
Yeah.
Versus, like, oh, we just talk a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Two totally different things.
I think I will throw around the word bestie sometimes. Like, if I'm telling you, like, you are my best friend, you're one of my closest friends. Like, I'm not throwing, you know what I mean? Like, I just can't. But I mean, I'm guilty. Like, I'll literally be like, oh my God, hey, bestie, to people that definitely aren't besties. But they know that. Like, we're on the same level. Yeah. Like, they don't think they're bestie. They're my bestie just because, like, we call each other bestie. It'll just be, like, fun. My sister, like, her friend will be like, will call me bestie, and I'll call her bestie. I'm like, oh my God, hey bestie. Like, every time she comes over our house, just as, like, it's just cute, it's fun. It's, you know, no one's delusional enough to think we're best friends. Like, you know, it's just being the word bestie. But I'm saying beyond that, like I said, like, stuff like best friend, or you're my closest friend, like, things like that. I mean, obviously I feel like most people take that seriously.
Do you want to know one thing though that is like kind of in that lane, but like annoys me? So I don't know if I've ever told anyone this because I've always just let people do it. When people assign me nicknames that I did not let, I'm like, I gave you no consent to give me a nickname. Like, no.
Thank you for bringing this up because I have this whole thing about nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
Like in general, I already don't like nicknames because I'm like, you have a name.
Well, what do even people like? What do people even say for you as a nickname?
Don't start.
No, because mine's horrible.
No, mine's a hate crime.
Dude, okay, well then tell me. What is it?
No, I'm never sharing that.
Okay, well I know, but okay, I'm gonna tell you mine, and it's horrible. Well, can you guess it? Because you might be able to guess it. Because
I don't
for some reason,
guess it.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, okay.
Dill pickle.
Oh my god.
Horrible, heinous, terrible. I've lived with it my whole life. It's that and people misspelling my name. I've lived with those my whole life.
I mean, yeah. I mean, people missay my name.
Hi, Parity. Wait, no, side note. What's the worst, like, mispronunciation?
Party.
Bro, are you serious? Party? That's really bad. Okay, wait,
yeah.
Nickname though.
And that's me not even including, like, that's just me being okay with people not being able to say Pariti. Like, most people are just like Pariti or Pariti here, like with the American accent and everything. Like, that's okay, that's whatever, it's fine. But beyond that, like, it just gets so much worse. I am never sharing nicknames because I don't even want people to think about, like, my name is Pariti and say Pariti. Like, don't ever try to colonize my ethnic name ever again. Don't ever. Like, there's a reason I was named the name I was named. And you best follow it. Like, if you want to speak to me, say my name.
Yeah.
Don't try to come up with whatever out of your ass. That's so, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's just, like, don't, like, just, because it's, like, is there anything that's easier to say? No, there isn't. If you don't want to talk to me, don't talk to me.
Wait, you've gotten that? Is there any?
Yeah.
What's hard about 3 syllables?
No, literally. Or they're like, oh, like, I always call people nicknames, like, I need to come up with something. And I'm like, no, you don't need to come up with anything.
Yeah.
You can call me my name. It's my name. And I feel like I'm okay if someone calls you a nickname as a form of affection that's completely different than your name.
Yes.
Like, completely. Like, like, I know, like, in romantic relationships, people have, like, name, like, they're like, oh, hey, honey, whatever. Like, they just call each other, like, whatever it is that they call each other. And I'm fine, like, I'm not even commenting on that. I'm talking about when people shorten your name or take a piece of your actual name and then make it a nickname or, like, and I'm like, no, like, just say my name at that point.
Yeah, no, okay, well, I see, I have other ones, too, but see, like, I wanted
I'll tell you after that, like, I cannot broadcast this nickname because it's like even sharing it. It's like my name is Pariti. Call me that.
Wow.
Period.
I respect it.
Thank you.
Respect it. Okay. Anything else you want to touch on?
Yeah, I think a final concept that I would want to bring up as like a end to our first episode is the idea of multidimensional friendships, which I think has helped me navigate friendships. As a young adult. And that's this idea that one person isn't going to be everything anymore, or those two people aren't going to be everything anymore, and that different people can fulfill different parts of your life. And so...
Oh, wait, I love this.
Yeah, so it's like...
Go ahead.
I was like, in school or in college, like, when you're living with proximity friendships, 2-3 people can become everything because you're living the same life, you're going to the same classes, you're going to work together, whatever it is. Like, it's very easy for that person to be there for you, physically, emotionally, mentally, all in different spaces because you're together. But then, like, moving out of that phase in your life, it's like, now there are different, it's very delusional to expect people to be everything for you, especially as friends. Like, I can't expect 1 or 2 friends to be there for me every single time I call them, to also like every single one of my hobbies, to also, be interested in everything I'm saying, to also have time for me whenever I want to be with them.
And see, okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this too, because I think that's a really healthy way to look at it, because also, like, see, the thing about that too is that when you expect 1 or 2 people to and I'm speaking out of experience because I used to be this way. Yeah. One or two people to be your everything. A, that's unfair to them.
Yeah.
But B, that's also like lazy is a strong word, but it's one of those things where it's like you have to advocate for the different parts of yourself that need to be filled in. And so if that person, if the reality is that you know that that person cannot fill that part of you, but you're trying to twist them into a version of them that does, you're still ending up screwing yourself up. Like if I am friends with someone who maybe they're not the most emotionally available person, which is fine. There are tons of people,
but they're your workout buddy, and that's okay.
Yeah, but for whatever, I decide like, oh my gosh, I want to spend. I'm like, I don't feel that I can rant out to other people, so I'm just going to try to like get everything that I can out of you and be like, hey, can we talk about this more? Can we talk about that more? But that's just not something that they're comfortable with. I'm still I'm screwing myself over because I'm not getting what I actually need in that area. Like if I need someone to talk with me about like emotional stuff, then I need to go find someone that's more equipped to do that.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why, at least for me, I'm so selective about my friends. It goes full circle because I literally will be like, that person will help reinforce me in that area. Like one of the reasons that I started becoming close to you, at least in my intentionally, is I was like, this person will help reinforce my drive. The other people, that's not their strong suit. Like I'm other people in my life, I might be friends with them because I'm like, they will be really good if I need to just like talk out my emotions. And we can talk about emotions forever. Like, cause like, whereas you, sometimes I'll be coming to you and I'll be like, oh my gosh, this person said this to me and I'm so sad. And you'll be like, well, why'd you let them say that?
Yeah, I'll be like, pull up.
I'm like, that's just not what I would go to you for. Cause I'm just like, that's not.
Unless you literally like are gonna pull up on them, I'm just gonna be like annoyed. Like, why would you let them speak to you?
Exactly. Whereas I could go to someone else that I'm like, I know what I need in that moment. And someone be like, oh my gosh, they said that to you. That's awful.
I can't do that.
Yeah. No.
I can't be like, oh, that's awful. They said that to you. Let's move on and forget about it.
No. And so I like that idea of multi-dimensional because it spreads, like it plays to everyone's strengths.
Exactly. And then it's like a win-win for both sides because I can bring my best self to that person and they can bring their best self to me in that area of our life that we're looking like to grow in together.
Yeah.
And so like that work friend is going to be different than that workout buddy, which is going to be different than the friend that you talk about spirituality with. I have friends that can, call and vent to and say, I'm crying my eyes out, or I'm having a mental breakdown, or I'm at a rut in my career, or I'm thinking about this professionally. Like, I'm not gonna go to my, like, TV show friend about, like, advice on, like, what to do at work.
Yeah.
Like, and expecting that after a certain age is not, like, healthy.
Yeah. And would you say that, because, see, I tend to agree, but, like, playing devil's advocate here, like, would you say that runs the risk of like categorizing people into like different, like this is my friend for this, that's my friend for that, you know what I mean? Like do you think that's like a healthy or unhealthy thing? Because I can hear some people being like, I don't like that. I mean, I like it, but I'm just, you know what I mean?
No, I think if you balance it, it's fine. If you
people
categorize it as in like, I'm only gonna talk to this friend about this TV show we're talking about, and if we talk about anything else, it's case.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. No, like
it's
I'm
a
saying like
thing,
we connected on that thing, so we'll continue because it brings us happiness to speak about like blank genre of movies and go watch them together, right? So that will always be a really strong foundation for our friendship. Then if it develops into something more, great. Like if it ends up being also like one day they come to me to vent about something emotionally, or they ask me about something in their career, or it can be that. But I think most of my friends, when they're multidimensional, it is a couple of things. You know, like the friend that it's not just like, okay, I can only talk to you about work.
Yeah.
But then like obviously that friend isn't the workout buddy. Like they're not gonna keep me accountable in that sense, and that friend isn't someone I talk to spirituality with because we're like not on the same level there.
Yeah.
And so it's like just knowing that one person doesn't have to be everything. It's okay if they are though. If those couple people can fulfill different parts of you, yay. But depending on them to do it and obligating them to do so when you're grown adults is like really unhealthy.
Yeah.
So just knowing like I have multiple friends I can go to if I'm having a bad day. I'm not gonna put that burden on just you, Dillon.
Yep.
To make sure I'm okay the next time I cry. If I can, I can put that burden on multiple people because as a friend, I'm willing to take on that burden for them too. that if, you know, something's up, like, they can always call me. But let's say I'm busy that day, I'm sure they can call another friend too.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of like obligation should only be reserved for like partners and specific family members. Like not even every family, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good place to close for this episode.
I think so, yeah. So make multidimensional friends. No.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. I want to think about that concept more. We need to revisit that next episode.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
We can start off there next time.
Yes. Yes. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we close out?
No, I
haven't stared at the camera for
would love to just know what other people are thinking. Because I think
tell us what you think in the comments.
Yeah. Because we go about life differently, but we have the same, like, undertone of, like, how we think about it. So I think, like, both of us are very intentional and very, like, specific, but I know most people aren't. Like, we are very unique in that take of friendships.
Yeah.
So I would love, like, I want to hear about, like, other people's thoughts for sure.
Yes, definitely let us know what you think about, like, multidimensional friendships.
Yeah.
Like, dealing with conflict in friendships, what does, like, closeness mean to you? Like, any of the things that, like, you listen to, even agree, disagree, like, I just want to know, like, what you guys think. Yeah. So, comments, DMs at our Instagram, which is...
What Keeps Us Up.
Follow us, What Keeps Us Up on Instagram. And what are we even talking about next episode?
Also follow us on YouTube and TikTok. Because YouTube
YouTube and TikTok.
YouTube is where this is going to be posted.
That's a great point. I'm a YouTuber. I completely forgot. This is going to be... Like and subscribe, please, if you enjoyed the content.
And then next episode, I think we're choosing between, like, personality types, parenting,
yes,
like intergenerational trauma, and, like, POC/immigrant life, that realm. I feel like there's so many different topics we spoke about.
I feel like, we may change this, but I feel like a good place to transition would be going right into, like, personality types and stuff, because we kind of already started that. For reference, like, for me, I don't know if you guys know 16 personality types, like MBTI stuff. I've studied that for a really, really long time, so I have lots of thoughts, which I will save. But I don't know. I think that would be a good one to go for next.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Awesome.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye.